What is going on, guys? What is going on? How's everyone doing? There is Lee. There he is. What's going on, brother? Can you hear me good? Oh, I can't hear him. Add to stream. There you are. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Not bad, Jay.
I'm doing great, brother. Doing great. It's good to finally connect, man.
I know. It's been a while. It's been a while. It's been a while in the making. It's just making sure that the diaries can join up and stuff like that. And eventually we got it.
Absolutely, yeah. And we are absolutely 100% excited about that as well. So that worked out easy. I tell you what, this is the first time that I've actually done any inviting using the StreamYard software. So I didn't know how it was going to go, but it's really, really simple. What's up, Solomon? What's going on, brother?
What's up, man? Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you good, man. We can hear you good. We got a lot of excited people here on the stream. Looking forward to getting to know you guys a little bit. And I was on XRP Army News the other day, and Lee, he told me to say hello to you because I think he just interviewed you.
Yeah,
Scott, really, really cool dude. And I told him that you guys were one of the first, for sure, that I wanted to actually invite from the community as far as content creators on the channel, right? So, you know, we like to keep it real here for sure. So we like to have real people on the show. So this is an honor for me to be able to have two of the best to ever do it in the community to hang out. So we're gonna just have a good time, man. Just hang out, get to know each other a little bit. That's cool.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys. Let me see what's going on in the comments here. XRP Rocket Man got on an hour. This dude has been on hanging out for an hour.
That's commitment.
Yeah, commitment, big time, bro. What's going on, XRP Rocket Man? Good to see you, brother. I appreciate you being here. Josh, what's up, buddy? How are you? XRP Lava, always great to see you, my friend. So, guys, listen. You know, these two guys, they don't need an introduction, but we're gonna do it anyway, right? And so, you know, it's really, really important for us. I know for me to be able to turn to and go to guys who can do the deep dive, right? Who can, you know, bring the information, back it up with credibility, share, you know, kind of where they see things are going and help us to level up our XRP IQ. We say that all the time on this channel. You want to level up your XRP IQ. You want to level up your digital asset space IQ, and you want to level up your financial space IQ as well. And so that's why I'm really, really excited, Lee, that you're doing the wealth code thing. We're going to talk about that some as well. So guys, here they are, both Solomon and Lee from SPQR Media here. And we're going to talk and we're going to hang out a little bit. We're going to talk Ripple, sure, talk XRP, of course. We're going to do those things, but I'm really excited about talking some traditional finance with these guys as well. Because we say on the channel all the time, don't tell me about your exit strategy, tell me about your wealth strategy, right? That is the most important thing because we talk about generational wealth all of the time. What's up, TJ Jackson? What's going on, brother? How are you? So guys, let's start this off with, you know, just telling us a little bit about yourselves and how you got into crypto. So Lee, you want to start, brother?
Yeah, okay. By the way, King, how are you, my man?
What's up, man?
Yeah, good.
Nice to see you in person, man.
I know, mate. I know. Lots of conversations behind the scenes, brother. But yeah, first time we've spoken. So great.
For sure.
This be really, really interesting conversation, and I can't wait. So yeah, let's start with my cryptocurrency journey. Oh yeah. God, right, that seems so long ago that when I first got into cryptocurrency. You know, my friend Jay. Who used to co-present SPQR with myself.
Yep.
We were talking about cryptocurrency, and he brought Bitcoin to my attention.
Okay.
Probably about 3 years ago, prior to the big bull run and stuff like that.
Yep.
And like anything or any sensible person, you start researching what you're going to invest in before you obviously open your wallet and spend your hard-earned money. So I started looking at Bitcoin and trying to understand the technology first because I wanted to understand it before I put any money into it.
Okay.
I loved the idea of Bitcoin, that it was the idea was born for the money of the people. I loved the idea.
Sure.
Absolutely loved it. But then the more and more I looked, I started seeing flaws in it. in terms of how slow it was, how it was controlled. And then I had suspicions when I looked further that maybe it wasn't created by this individual within his bedroom. It may have been created by others potentially.
Right. Sure.
So it started rise. My red flags were going off in my head when I was researching, and then I thought me and Jay started talking. Then he brought XRP to my attention, and then first thing I did, I looked at the investors on Ripple's page as a first port of call.
Sure.
And literally, my heart dropped through my arse and then come back into my body. And I was like, hang on, if these guys are investing, these are serious investors, right? Yep. So that piqued my interest straight away. And then I was then starting to look for flaws. And to begin with, I could not see flaws. I could see that everything that Bitcoin wasn't, XRP was. And more importantly, it was solving, it had a real world use case for me. And I've experienced the correspondent banking network not being good for me. And I worked in the banking industry as well. Okay. So I actually understood it from the inside out as well.
Right.
And I was like, wow, okay. And then I started researching more and more and more, just like you do, King. and when we go down the rabbit holes, we don't come up for days. And basically me and Jay decided, right, okay, cool, we're going to do a channel because we saw a lot of the content that was being created within the space, which was just regurgitating all the kind of mainstream media news. And what we wanted to do was to share with everybody what we could see, because we felt it was a great investment opportunity, and we wanted to share what we understood it to be. And then we wanted to learn along the way with the community as well. And we've come a long journey since we set up SPQR, and I've learned along the way as well. I've started reading financial books and all sorts. So not just about cryptocurrency. It's opened my eyes in general to money, what money is, monetary policy, geopolitics. So yeah, I've been deep diving all sorts of rabbit holes. And here I am today. Yeah. So over to you, King.
Well, mine may not go as deep, but I mean, in the beginning, I think it was January of 2017. It may have been December of 2016. I was actually I was recording an album, and the producer that I was working with had asked me, because I was like, he lives like an hour away from me, and I was like, how do you want me to pay you? PayPal, whatever. And he's like, no, can you just send me Bitcoin? I'm like, what's Bitcoin? You know? And I think I may have heard of Bitcoin in the past, like when I was in the Navy, and people get involved in that type of stuff. But I put X amount into Bitcoin. I paid him what I needed to pay him. I think that I ended up having like $50 left over in there. This was in like January. Right. And then I looked, it was like probably August or September time frame. And that $50 was like $220 or 250 or maybe even more. And I was like, wow, what is this? So I started looking into it a bit more. I really started getting into the investment aspect of it, if you call it that. I was more so probably gambling in 2017, just putting money in. And, I talked about it on my channel a couple videos ago, or last video, but, I made a lot of bad decisions after the run up. There was a dude that came into my work talking about Dragon Chain, and I'm not talking bad about Dragon Chain and that project. I know it's still around, but and it's like, well, I made all this money, and now here's $500. I'll just throw it in Dragon Chain, and I'm pretty sure I bought right at the peak. It was like it was just a horrible decision on my part. So, throughout the course of 2018, really, I would say I didn't own any. It was still Ripple then. I didn't own any Ripple until probably mid 2018. Right. And at one point I went all in at like the end of 2018. We were right around $1 probably, like that. Right. I was still obviously adding on, but I started looking into, I was like, okay, well, I made this mistake once. I really don't want to make it another time. What's the way to get away from that? And, I felt like researching and digging into stuff as much as possible and controlling what I could control, at least from an investment aspect for myself, which is what I did. And that's what I try to still continue to do today. You know, it's what's difficult to do, though, and I think, Lee, you probably ran into this a lot. It's difficult to continuously find that deep dive type information and to present information that isn't, like you said, just regurgitated or like hypey. Like Siege, I love what you do because you keep it very realistic with the community, and it's all about strategy. It's all about goals and what you can attain and how you're going to give back once you've attained it. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to find stuff on a daily basis that is like, oh my God, I can't believe what you found. You know what I mean? Because that stuff just doesn't always come. And sometimes that stuff is just like you find it by accident. And then some stuff it's through putting, and Twitter is probably not the best platform for doing this, but connecting all sorts of dots where you see all of these institutions doing the same thing at the same time. And you would have to be a fool to think that it's a coincidence, you know, and it's not saying that it's 100% this, but like I've said before, and I know, Lee, I think you said before, even if we're 5 or 10% right about what we suspect is going on, it's gigantic.
Exactly. And how many times, King, have you started a deep dive, where you've got your topic, something triggers off something in your mind, you're like, right, I'm going to look at this, and then you spend hours and hours, piece 1, piece 2, piece 3, piece 4, and then you get to about piece 10, but you're looking for your smoking gun, and you're Googling, your PDF reading all these documents, keyword searching, and then you just realize you just wasted 4 hours of researching because you can't find your smoking gun.
Dude, I've gotten to the point with deep dives where you're like looking at the resume of some random person, and you're like, what am I doing right now? This is absolutely crazy. What am I? This is nonsense, you know. But that's how it goes sometimes, you know. Sometimes you stumble upon stuff, and there's so much information that, you know, I forget a lot of the partnerships sometimes, and then a piece of news will come back. That's why I think that the older news is invaluable, because stuff always ties back to that older news, is from what I've found, and there's always newer announcements where you can link back. Oh, that's what that's what they were doing. That's the path that this company was on, or whatever. So.
Right. I hear you, bro. And just to let you guys know, just because we haven't had a chance to meet yet, I got started in the digital asset space through the high yield investment platforms. Okay, the HYIPs, things like BitConnect, Brave Rewards, Devore, Lend Connect, ETH Connect, those type of platforms where, you know, the promise wasn't 3 or 4 or 5% annual interest. It was 3, 4, 5% a day interest, right? And so, that's where I got into this space, and it was crazy. So 99.9% of them were scams. But everyone was hoping for that 0.1%, that one that could last a long time, right? And so I was literally taking my hard-earned fiat dollars and buying Bitcoin or Ethereum and putting them in those platforms and just losing time after time. That's where I started, literally.
And you kept making the same mistake.
Kept making the same mistake, hoping for that big one, right? Because it's so funny, because my guy out in Canada, he made a mint on one of those, like a mint, like millions. He made crazy money with one of those. Yeah. And I'm like, I gotta find the one. He's turning me on to one, and and they were just all scams. I had no idea what that was about. It was so crazy, because I entered into this space not knowing. All I was looking at was the dollars. I didn't even care about the technology. I was just trying to make some money, right? Some cash flow. And it wasn't until 2017, I think Tika Tiwari did how he does those broadcast things.
Yeah.
I don't know how I was part of Palm Beach before Tika even got there. And so I got that notification that he was doing something, and I figured I'd tune into it because I knew it was on digital assets. And the only reason why I invested in XRP, my first investment, is because at the end of his little hour-and-a-half thing that he always does, he'll always give away one. And that particular broadcast, the one that he gave up was XRP. He called it Ripple back then. It was Ripple. And I said, okay, he's a smart guy. He's made tons of money, you know. I'll buy some of this Ripple thing. That's what I did. And so I bought some of that at 20 cents, right? And sold it at $2 or something like that. And almost made all the money that I had lost in those HYIPs, right? And basically made all my money back, basically from doing that. And then after that, no XRP now. I have none. I sold it all. Sold all of it, and then it goes up to the $3 and the $3.77, and I'm hearing and seeing all of these, different YouTubers talking about all this other stuff. I had no idea what Ripple was, none until I sold all of my XRP, and then I discovered all of this stuff behind it. It was absolutely crazy. So that's how I got into the space. And it's because of guys like you that I began to really pay attention to the company that, you were smart, right? You went to Ripple and checked out the investors. I didn't do any of that. I just sold it. It was really, really crazy. So that's kind of how I got into the space. Absolutely. And getting into Ripple was pure luck, pure luck. You know what I mean? But thank God that I did, that I went down that journey for sure. Do you guys have any favorite YouTubers that you guys hang out and say, this is a good guy to listen to and listen to his stuff? You have some favorites that you enjoy as far as crypto?
I used to, when I first found out about XRP, because I wanted to find out what people were saying about it. Yeah, and yeah. I just watched all the usual ones, everybody else would watch. Right. But obviously, as you know, I come and watch you. I watch you two guys when I have spare time. I always enjoy Solomon's deep dives, and his mind works very similar to mine. I can when he's reading it, I'm thinking, yeah, I know, man, I know. Right. And yourself, you come at it from a different angle. But realistically, do I watch a lot of content now? No, because I feel like for me, it's not if, it's just when. Now we've just got to be patient and sit there and wait.
Sure.
And start planning our exit strategies, like the kind of stuff you talk about, Siege, and making sure that you're prepared for it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's now important. We've stumbled across a great investment, in my opinion. So now it's just making sure that you don't fuck it up.
Yeah. Exactly. What about you, Solomon?
I mean, it really is difficult to try to watch multiple YouTubers, especially when you're trying to put together. I mean, I don't know if I'm sure you guys have at least seen one of my videos. And Leah, I know you said you watched some of mine, but you can see how many tabs I have open to try to compile all that stuff. But I actually use a different computer to do a lot of the research, and then I'll send it all over in an email, and then I have to refind everything all over again that I'm trying to compile. So it's just a mess. But when I do watch, I like listening to Kevin Cage. I listen to him sometimes on my way home from work.
He's a good guy.
I like Crypto Eddie. I think she's got it nailed down from the Asian perspective as well. And it's interesting seeing some of the documents that she can actually translate to a certain extent, more than what anybody else could do. And I mean, other than that, when Sam does videos, I'll occasionally try to watch those ones, but that's pretty much it. I used to watch a lot more. A lot more, but it's hard to do that whenever you're putting out content too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I started watching The Modern Investor, TMI, The Modern Investor.
I used to listen to him all the time back in probably 2018 and even into early 2019. I used to listen to him. That dude talks a lot like me too, if you've ever listened to him talk, because I get into really, really fast talking.
Right.
He sounds like he's on something sometimes. Yeah. I know he's not, but he's just so excited. Like, settle down.
Yeah, absolutely. And he is definitely one of the best to do it. I remember watching his channel grow. I mean, before you know it, he had 165,000 subs, like just before you could just blink an eye, there he was. And what I like about him is he's very, he's not in any one particular camp in terms of digital assets, but he is an XRP fan big time. but he's not in one camp, and he's able to talk about Cardano or EOS or Bitcoin or Ethereum, with just as much passion, right? So he's not in one particular camp, and I really do like that. And so he doesn't put the BTC guys down. He doesn't put the XRP guys down, obviously, but he defends XRP. He will not hesitate to defend Ripple and XRP any chance that he gets. And so I know he's a big fan, but for me, he's one of the guys I think that is even keel and doesn't jump into camps, because I think sometimes that just harms the space as a whole, to do that. But I wanted to ask you guys something. Are you guys diversified?
I am. Yeah.
Good.
I agree with you on the modern investor. He opened my eyes to a lot of different digital assets. And that was during the time where I was actually looking into things instead of just jumping in too.
Yep.
So I know he had talked about, layer 2 scaling for Ethereum, which, I think he had brought up. Omisego was one of the things he had brought up back in the day. And I looked into that a little bit. It just opens your eyes, because I think that it's great if you have XRP. It's great if you believe in what Ripple's trying to do with the utility of something like XRP. But if you're not opening your eyes to what all the other initiatives that are going on, if you're not opening your eyes to that, then you're not learning. You're stuck in tunnel vision, but you can't see other developments that are going on across the board either. I think it's very important to pay attention to the space as a whole, because Ripple's doing their thing with XRP. But there are so many other use cases. You talk about logistics and supply chain. You can name probably 100 of them. But in my opinion, this entire thing that's going on isn't just about XRP. It's about network tipping effect. As far as what's going on with digital assets across the board, I don't want to say resetting the system, but they're pretty much going digital across the board, and it's going to be everything. It's not just going to be cross-border payments, which is XRP's use case right now, but it's everything.
Yeah.
So what coins are you guys invested in your diversification process in cryptocurrency? I'll be interested to see if we actually share similarities with that, because I bet we probably do as well.
Yeah. I know for me, I'm a big fan of the VeChain ecosystem.
VeChain.
And I'm a big fan of the Binance ecosystem. I think those two guys are kind of leading the way. I just think that Sunny Lu and CZ are focused, and they're out there making moves. Unlike a lot of the other technologies, where it's all about the technology, but they don't know how to bring it to the masses. They don't know how to bring it to the marketplace. And I don't think the technology does anyone any good if you can't bring it to the marketplace. And I see that CZ's camp and Sunny Lu's camp are able to deliver on that, right? Bringing it to the marketplace. And so for me, I 2 or 3 from the VeChain ecosystem, like Elron and like Player, for example, right? Or 8 Hour Foundation and things from, obviously anything that that CZ Binance has going on as well. So I like Elron, and, I like Anchor Network. I think both of those are going to be really, really massive. So obviously we hold VeChain, right? Obviously you get some veto that way. I dabbled in Stellar Lumens, dabbled in Cardano and EOS and those type of things. But the more I just kind of, did my own research, listened to the modern investor, I just started narrowing them down, right? And just look, if you can't bring your great technology to the marketplace, I'll wait for the opportunity when you do. But until then, I'm gonna prioritize the stuff that is getting into the marketplace and is actually being used in the real world. What about you, Solomon?
Well, my strategy, at least more recently, has been, some of the ones that I invest more heavily in, or at least that I hold more heavily in. I'm big. I think Hashgraph's really big. I think Hedera's very, very big. If you look at their governing council and who owns Hashgraph, because their governing council basically owns Hashgraph, and you're talking Google, LG. I can't even. They're Boeing. They're huge. But I think they're going to be big. And if you especially you look out 5 to 10 years, what's going to go on whenever I don't know if quantum computing becomes more of a prevalent issue by 5 to 10 years from now, but there's always going to be a bigger and better form of distributed ledger or ledger technologies, and that's third gen ledger tech. And you look at who's building on that, and I think I think they're going to be big. But just my opinion. That's obviously not financial based. I agree with you on VeChain. I do like VeChain a good amount. I like Cardano. I'm trying to think of what else. Ethereum for sure. I definitely have Ethereum. I think I've seen Ethereum far too much integration with Ethereum to think that it's going to lose, regardless of them failing to deliver on 2.0 for the past 2 years. We tend to forget that Ethereum is like 5 or 6 years old. You know what I mean? So it's such a nascent market right now where everything's so new, where there's all these expectations. But I've seen Ethereum all over the place. I like Cardano. I think Cardano may serve, and I could be completely wrong, may serve kind of that exotic corridor type thing. It seems to be what they're planning to do, at least.
Right.
And then other digital assets. I mean, I have like, a little bit of money in maybe 10 to 15 different ones, but those are the big ones that I'm really looking into. Surprisingly enough, and I know, Siege, you'll probably disagree with this, I hold 0 Bitcoin. I don't have any Bitcoin at this point. And I got off the Bitcoin train completely. And it's very hard to do, by the way. But once you take that dive, you're like, I saw the $30 transaction fees. I was around during the bull run, and I saw, and that was one of the reasons it sparked for me, just from a utility standpoint. Peer-to-peer payments was their first and most promising use case, besides the being able to transact without an intermediary. And I think that's out the window now. The store of value thing, I get it. It is a store of value as far as from a blockchain standpoint, if you look at the crypto market, but there's like $300 billion in the crypto market or whatever it is. Once that gets to much more than that, there's going to be, I believe Bitcoin will be supplanted also. I'm not saying it's wrong to hold Bitcoin. I'm not saying it's not going to go up in value. That was just a decision that I personally made. From sustainability, you see all the green initiatives that are going on across the board, 2025 or 2030. And if Bitcoin can't solve the issue that they have from a mining standpoint, I don't know how they align with that. I don't know how it's used at a mass scale, unless to speculate on, which it probably will always be.
Right. And I actually agree with you. About BTC, right? And so I've actually, I used to hold 1,500 to, to 2,500. I was day trading BTC for about 90 days. But now I've just gone down to, it's always $500 or less. I use it to get some percentage gains, and then I'm out of it, right? I think I did a video yesterday, maybe even a live stream yesterday. I was talking about what am I going to do with this BTC? I only got like $500 worth of it. What am I going to do with it? But because I agree with you 10,000%, it's not going to be the winning technology. And the only thing they got left is the store of value, right? Thing that they're pitching to everyone. So I just don't, I think the better percentage gains for us are on the other altcoins. You guys agree?
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things we talk about on the channel a lot of times is say, don't tell us about your exit strategy. Tell us about your wealth strategy, right? What does that look like? And so are you guys looking into, and you believe that one day you're going to be completely in digital assets and not having to deal in a traditional finance world? When Moon, how much of your winnings are you going to have in the traditional space, and how much are you going to have or leave in the digital asset space?
Me answer it first?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. That's a difficult question in terms of how much we're going to leave in fiat currency and how much we're going to leave in the digital space. Because things will evolve over time. I think we're going to see the birth of central bank digital currencies over the next 12 to 18 months with all the projects that we've seen, which are being built out as we speak. So it will be interesting to see what that coexistence stage looks like, because you're not only going to have a coexistence stage of systems where they change from old to new systems, there'll also be a coexistence stage for fiat and digital currencies. Yeah, and I'm not making a decision now because I can't foresee the future. In terms of when I feel that what kind of dates we're looking at, through all the documents and everything that I've looked at, we're going to see regulation before probably between now and the early part of 2021. That's my expectation. And then we'll have a coexistence stage between 2021 and 2025. And then we'll have a changeover of systems from 2025 onwards, where I think mass adoption will be in place between 2025 and 2030. A lot of the systems that me and Solomon have researched, you're probably not going to hear about cryptocurrencies too much because it's going to be under the hood, as to speak. I think the technology, how Ripple and XRP are going to be used, everybody's going to be using phones to purchase railway tickets when you're on the underground, or your groceries, or your petrol, your diesel when you go to the fuel station. They're using phones, and I think people aren't even going to realise that crypto asset is part of that transaction. I think the problem they're going to have, because I have lots and lots and lots of conversations with many people, is going to be trust, and turning from a speculative market to a matured market. Not only from the everyday person, but from an institutional use case point of view as well. Because a lot of people who I speak to, friends, relatives, stuff like that, and I talk about cryptocurrencies, and they say to me, "Oh, is that what those drug dealers? That's what digital currencies is. That's the response I have every time." And I'm like, "Yeah, Bitcoin isn't the only digital currency out there." I said, "There's hundreds, probably thousands, and there's some good ones, and there's some real good use cases." So what I do, I get around and I've got my whiteboard. I get my whiteboard out and I've got to draw it all up for them. It's like school with Lee around my house, and I get them all round and I draw it out on a whiteboard and explain to them how it all works. And yeah, it's interesting times. But my wealth strategy is more about residual income, and I've got that already because I've got my own business. And basically I have a lot of employees who work for me. So if I go in on Monday, if I don't go to work next week, I still earn, because I've got employees who do all the work for me. And that's what I think people should look to do, is sort their own shit out in their own lives. Don't wait for Moon. Sort your own shit out first, and then when Moon happens, it's going to be a bonus. That's my opinion. And then start looking at education yourself. Start learning. If you don't really understand what money is, learn the basics first. Learn money. Learn what the monetary system is. Learn good debt versus bad debt and interest and so on and so forth. And always looking to get a residual income. Like me, for instance, my strategy within the next 2 to 3 years is to try to get as much property buy to let as I can. So then I can earn a residual income. It doesn't matter. I will earn a salary from that. I've researched the property market pretty heavily, and I was actually in the field years ago as well, so I actually understand the inner workings pretty well. So yeah, that's more my wealth strategy more than anything else, is to continue what I'm doing, but for me to share my knowledge and my findings and my research with everybody as well, and help educate people and make people think outside the box. Stop working for money. Try and get money to work for you instead. And that's the trick. Don't work for money, because you chase some money, it's never going to come to you. But when you actually realise, you think, hang on, if I get money to work for me, all of a sudden it just comes in and you don't even realise, and you're doing nothing for it. And it's like, fuck me, I've just broken the game. And then when you break that game, you have that realisation, that moment in your mind, and you're like, shit, it was this easy all along. So it's all about getting either other people to work for you or assets to pay residual income. And that's my wealth strategy, and which I've already applied and I'll continue to apply and build. So hopefully that answers questions.
It does. I love that. I love that. And so, Solomon, I would say I asked the same thing of you, right? And so, when Moon, how much of your earnings and winnings are you going to leave in the traditional space or put in the traditional space? And how much are you going to leave in the crypto space? And have you thought about a wealth strategy? Do you have something in place?
Well, I mean, I think first and foremost, and I've said this before too, Lee, I agree with you 100% as far as dates, what you've said from that. That's pretty much what I've seen too. I think I talked a little bit about that with the that chief marketing officer from Hedera too. These systems that are being built, and you can see what they're doing. They're building parallel systems where it can either be this or this, but then there is going to be a convergence that just slowly happens at first. Maybe something will be optional for one institution, but then right around 2025 to 2030 is where you're going to see just mass enablement, basically. Not to say that won't happen before 2025, but it'll be more of maybe an optional basis, special circumstances where institutions need to use something that's faster, cheaper, more, whatever. But I agree with you on that, Lee. But my opinion for my wealth strategy, I mean, first and foremost, and I know some people have said this before, like, because I've said my first thing that I'm going to do is pay off all my bad debt. And they're like, well, why would you do that? I'm like, well, that's what I'm going to do. I mean, I've got a mortgage where I'm paying X amount of interest that I'm going to be paying for the next 25 years. Mm-hmm. I'll end up paying $500,000 for my house. You know what I mean? Which is, I'm paying it off. I'm paying that off. I'm paying all debt off right across the board first. I definitely want to get into real estate to a certain extent too, because I believe exactly what Lee says. Anytime that you can earn money when you're not physically working from it, I believe that's the key. Residual income, where you're not physically having to put the time in, because there's not enough time in the day for you to work. You'll never hit your financial goals if you're planning on working for them, like you physically performing an action to become however wealthy you want to become. You'll never do it. And that's not what rich people do either. Trust me. They don't go out there and work for their money. They have other people doing it for them, or they have assets that do it for them. But I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking at. And as far as removing myself fully from digital assets, I can't envision myself ever removing myself fully. I just did a video on, I know you talk wealth strategy. I did a video on exit strategy yesterday, and I said, I have mine. That's why I don't talk about exit strategies, because mine is probably no good for you because it's mine. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Everybody is completely different. Everybody has different goals, you know, and my exit strategy isn't an exit strategy. It's more so what you're, you know, the phraseology that you're using, a wealth strategy, because I don't want to exit. I want to continue to gain, you know what I mean? And whether that be through digital assets or real estate to a certain extent, maybe stocks, assuming that they actually bottom out at some point, because I believe this is just complete nonsense what we're seeing right now for the past year. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't think any of those numbers are real from what we're seeing, you know. You traditionally have a bear market in stocks, like every 7 to 8 years. We've been straight bull for like 13, 12, or since 2008. So after the crash. So that's my goal, Siege. I mean, it's just to pay off what I need to pay off, get rid of my bad debt, and then try to build wealth in other ways. Whether that be through digital assets, whether that be through other means. I mean, that's kind of what my goal is, just to continue to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And I just, I asked the question a lot when we had the Generational Wealth Wednesday, because I just want to I want people to start thinking about it, right? And not waiting. One of the things that we do on the Generational Wealth Wednesday is we read books together, right? And so the first book we read was this book called Strangers in Paradise by Jason Grubman. And what that was about is you get into the digital asset space, and now you're fortunate. You get 2 or 3 things that pop, and you have this wealth here, the sudden, unexpected, if you will, wealth. What do you do? How are you preparing for that for yourself and your family? And that book talks about that. Because I firmly believe that if people are XRP hodlers and they've been blessed to be able to accumulate the last 800 or 900 days, there is going to be an opportunity for generational wealth there. I truly, truly believe that, just with XRP. And so how do you prepare for that? And what does that look like? And so, but also reread books like Killing Sacred Cows by Gary Gunderson. It talks about, dispelling the myths in traditional finance, right? And so we can't dispel them if we don't know what they are and understand what's the real deal, right? What's the real deal? We have a formula for the channel. It's generational wealth equals digital assets plus sound saving instruments multiplied by a cash flow business, right? So it's GW equals DA plus SSI multiplied by a cash flow business, right? And so obviously we all, I always say, look, if we're going to put something together, we have to begin with the end in mind. So instead of doing blah, blah, blah equals generational wealth, let's start with generational wealth and then go from there. So generational wealth equals digital assets plus sound saving instruments. For the channel, we currently have two, right? It's Celsius Network and it's dividend paying whole life insurance structured properly, right? Where you can earn interest and earn dividends on your money, right? And so if you were to plug in something to that particular formula, right? Digital assets plus sound saving instruments, what would you guys think would be for you? You feel like it's a sound savings instrument for you?
Sorry, Siege, I don't really understand the question.
So for example, sound saving instrument, right? We all know the fundamentals of savings. It's important to save. One of the reasons why I promote Celsius is because it promotes fundamentals. Saving your money, right? Saving your money.
Yeah.
Earning interest on the money that you're saving.
Yeah.
Okay. And then leveraging your assets versus liquidating your asset, right?
Yeah.
And so, so Celsius Network, I feel like it's a sound. In other words, it's safe. It produces some yield for you, right? It's not risky investing. So that's what I mean by a sound saving instrument, right? A tool like that. So, like some people think that a 401k is a sound saving instrument. They think that, right? Some people think an IRA or a Roth or something like that is a sound saving instrument. Do you feel like you have something that you feel like is something that's
sorry. Right, okay, cool. Well, basically, for me, for my saving, I hedge across all markets because I feel diversification is key. And I'll be interested later on, Solomon, to ask this question: is have you applied your skills to actually other markets as well in terms of your deep diving?
No, I should.
I have, and it's worked out very successful. I'll explain later on as well. Yeah, and you'll be quite interested about it, Solomon, as well, because you've got the same skill set, 100%, and probably if not better. So you'll find some good investments if you apply them to traditional markets. So I have silver and gold, physical. I have my house. I have digital currencies. I have fiat. And I've got various amounts of cryptocurrencies, as you guys have in terms of diversification. So I've got stocks and shares as well. I've got ISAs. I don't pay into a pension. That is one thing I don't do. If you've started noticing some announcements recently that the banks are actually going negative on pensions. So why would you pay into a pension when it's fucking losing money? It doesn't make sense, does it? Logic applies, right? Bank of Ireland come out yesterday and said we can't negative with our pensions. Surely no one's going to pay into those pensions. So for me, I try to invest cleverly. So I'll look at the next text to come to the market. So for instance, I knew digital currencies were coming. So obviously, let's go and have a look at the best projects out there and start researching those. And obviously, I'll come across very similar ones to you and invested in those and saved. Got some on Ledger, some on Exchange, got it all over the place, basically. So I'm hedged. So if I get hacked in one, I'm not losing it all. And that's basically my strategy there. And then I've got stocks and shares, and I applied my skills I learned by doing deep dives for SPQR. And I thought, right, I'm going to have a look at the 5G markets, because that's the next big tech which is going to hit us, right? And I started researching that with the geopolitics which are happening worldwide with Huawei and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, right, who else can attack this market? And I come across Ericsson and Nokia. And Nokia, I think there's something going on at Nokia. I'm suspicious. And I invested in Nokia. I'm not saying for you guys to invest. I'm not an investment advisor or anything like that. But I looked at Nokia because they're an infrastructure company, but they're pivoted, yeah, and they released a technology within the last month where, do you know, they were throwing up all these 5G masts worldwide. They've got a technology that converts all the 4G masts to 5G.
Huh.
Really?
So they've just cornered the fucking 5G market heavily. And you look at their stock price, it's gone up by about 40% over the last month. And so there are good investments in the traditional markets. So look for value in whatever you do. It's like, for instance, silver. Like, the price difference between gold has been one of the largest spreads that it's ever been. So that has to close at some point, right? And so I wouldn't buy now, but I bought when it was, what, $12 an ounce? So it's not necessarily saying, look, go and find something you want to invest in and then go and invest in it. That's not how it works. Go and find something, but then get your entry point. Because I think me, Solomon and Siege, we've all learned the hard way where we've invested in XRP at the top or at $1 or something like that.
Right.
And we've seen it go, whoosh. Yeah, so it's all about entry point as well. So I don't look at my savings as savings. I look at all my savings as investments. I don't save traditionally. And I will never do that. I will always invest, and I invest in companies, I invest in digital assets, I invest in stocks and shares and commodities. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What about you, Solomon?
Well, I probably need to do a little bit better besides just that was a pretty good answer, Lee. But I mean, from a digital asset standpoint, I mean, I obviously hold digital assets. I do hold precious metals, gold and silver. Started buying gold and silver probably late last year. So I do that. Obviously, my house, but from a savings standpoint, I actually nixed my 401k. I think, well, I didn't cut it 100% out, but I think I put like 1%. I put the minimum that I could possibly put into it, just so that the account my company doesn't think I'm nuts. But yeah, I mean, from an investment standpoint, from traditional markets, I mean, I'm definitely going to take your advice, Lee, for sure. I do need to start looking into more of that because we know 5G is coming, right? We know biometrics is pretty much almost here. We know you've got things like Internet of Things that are already here, but they're still in development. I mean, it's across the board. So I do have fiat that is pretty much on standby, but it's not. I know, Lee, I know you and I talked about this. I'm like, when am I just going to completely get out of fiat? But but it's hard to do that too, because you have emergencies that come up and stuff like that. And
your tumble dryer could break down tomorrow, couldn't it? Or,
yeah, that's really the only reason that I have fiat, is in case shit happens money.
Right.
But I do have fiat sitting there waiting for me to pull the trigger on certain things too. And from a digital asset standpoint, I have to look into Celsius Network too. See, I've heard about it, but there's so many opportunities. But I do think that there's going to be winners, obviously, in traditional finance as well. And from the technologies that we know are coming out, like Lee talked about 5G, I mean, that's stuff that I definitely need to get into a little bit more. So it's difficult because you get so, like I said before, for everybody that's listening, you get so single-minded on this one thing that you almost get tunnel vision, and you're not zooming out and seeing the forest. You know what I mean? You're just looking at your path in the woods, and that gets a little bit dangerous sometimes. I do try to present all the news that I can, but from a traditional finance standpoint, there's lots of money there's always money to be made in every market, depending on, if you're making the right moves and if you're researching and getting in, like Lee said, at the right time. If you have, this is what my entry point is, and that's how I'm going to get in. So that's all stuff. Like I said, I'm continuing to try to learn. So, my plan is to obviously diversify and verge out into these other markets, but I haven't done it as much as I'd like to yet. So,
right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I agree with you too, as well. And so Robert Kiyosaki, the author of The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? He's a big gold and silver guy. He's a big real estate guy. And he is definitely one of my mentors for sure. Right. And so he uses gold and silver, right, as a savings. Like he says, he doesn't plan on cashing it out. He's always holding and building for a hedge. Right. And so that's one that we could definitely add to our sound savings, right? Gold and silver. You got gold and silver. I'm a big fan of dividend paying whole life insurance. I just believe in becoming your own banker. I think that's hugely important, because I just think the need for finance is greater than the need for anything else, right? And so if I can do my own financing and become my own banker, I love that. And I would definitely encourage you guys to look into Celsius. I mean, definitely, you know, as many AMAs as you can possibly check out with Alex Mashinsky, and especially one where they're third parties, right? Where they're not running the AMA, right? They get some other people asking some questions. It's really good. And I just discovered I was hesitant because I came. So anything that's telling me I can earn BTC on my BTC, when I just came from the high yield investment platform where I was losing, right, because of these promises, right, was, you know, had me, you know, scared to death, right? So, you know, I discovered Celsius, you know, almost 2 years ago, like literally when they first got started, but I stayed away because, you know, of not expecting it to be the real deal. And it wasn't until the last 6 months where I really started diving into it. And Alex is a real guy, right? He's not hiding behind his computer, you know, a successful serial entrepreneur as well. But, you know, I like every single thing about what they're doing fundamentally, from their business model and how they get yield, right? Because there's a bunch of them out there, right? There's the crypto.coms and the Nexos and the BlockFis of the world, right? There's a bunch of them out there, but their business model, unfortunately, is not what I call sound, right? I love that you can put 8% on the board and say that's how I can get 8%, but how are you getting it to give me the 8%? Is it sustainable? And so what I found is those other models are not, and what Alice is doing is definitely very sustainable. I mean, I love it. Definitely check it out. Do your homework on it. I'm a big time fan. I actually became an ambassador. I applied to become an ambassador for Celsius because I had just really fallen in love with what they were doing. And, you know, I was blessed that I did get accepted. And so I think it's absolutely outstanding. One of the things I know a lot of people in the community are wanting to know is, do you guys think that XRP is going to hit 3 digits in 2021?
You can't ask that.
Oh my God.
Right, 3 digit 2021.
Right. Okay. I'll give you. I'm
gonna go get a glass of water real quick. Seriously, I am. I'll be back in 10 seconds.
Mate. Right. What are my expectations for XRP? Sky's the limit, really. Sky's the limit. And I think this is in my mind, this is my XRP kind of price targets over the next 12 to 18 months. And I'm trying to be realistic to manage expectation, right? Sure. So with my research, I'm expecting an announcement from someone of some sort late summer, and a big one as well. Yeah. What I'm thinking it's going to be Bank of America. And I think it's going to be around the market making, something like that. I think it's going to be a Bank of America announcement, probably late summer, like I say. So I think that's what's going to happen late summer. That will trigger a shoot up in price. This announcement that's coming late summer. It'll be Bank of America or one of their major banking partners confirm usage of XRP or ODL, or they become a market maker or something along those lines, right?
Yeah. That
will trigger to an all-time high. I think the all-time high, I think it'll probably get to somewhere like $5, something like that, especially with institutional money coming into play. So realistically, I think anything between $5 and $10 within the next 12 to 18 months without any, that's kind of my expectations in my mind. Will it get to that? I don't know, but that's where my expectations are at the moment. I'd be happy with $1 by the end of the year.
Gotcha.
And
what about you, Tom? Yep.
All right. So I think can and will are two very different things, obviously.
Yeah.
And, you know, is it possible is XRP 3 digits possible within a year? Yep. Anything is possible. Do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. That's just my opinion, though. I think that 3 digits is 100% possible once we have assuming that everything goes right, assuming that regulations go the way that we all believe that they're going to go, and that everything that we've seen, I think if we're 10% right about what we've seen and what we suspect is going on across the board, if we see a convergence, do I think 3 digits is possible within the next few years? Sure. Do I think it will happen? I don't know. My numbers kind of align, and I never usually talk price, but my numbers align more with where Lee's are at. I was messaging with Lionel in the community a couple of days ago. I've always had a number in my head around $25-$30 for the peak of the next cycle. Now I don't know when that next cycle ends either, because we saw the last bull run in 2017 lasted, and I mean there was a mini bull run, and then we had like December, November. It was like 5 weeks, and XRP was like 3 weeks. But I believe that with utility and usage and a demand for that utility, I think the bull run may be a little bit longer than what we saw last time. I would hope, maybe at least for the digital assets that have utility. But short answer, no, I don't think that XRP will hit 3 digits. Could I be completely wrong? Sure. I would be happy again. I really do align with what Lee said. I mean, $1, I'd be happy end of year, but I'm more so looking for, what's going to go on next year whenever we do have some regulatory clarity, because I think that opens the dam up. You know what I mean? And I think that we're going to see. I don't think any of us know, because once regulatory clarity comes in, I have no idea what's going to happen to crypto, because I do think 2017, tinfoil hat or not, was more of a test. And I think that we're going to see a flood. I don't think we've seen anything from how much money is going to come into this market. And then you get into utility, you're talking a whole different ballgame here. I mean, you're talking trillions for crypto, the market cap. I mean, trillions, not 800 billion, trillions, multiple trillions.
Exactly. And I agree with both of you guys. And so I think there is zero chance of XRP getting to 3 digits by the year end of 2021. But I do expect a healthy 2 digits. So I'm very much I'm talking end of 2021, right? So I'm thinking 22 to 26 bucks is where I'm looking for XRP at the end of 2021. But I definitely believe in a 3-figure eventually. Yeah, I believe in XRP's future. I believe a 4 figures is in XRP's future as well. I really, really do. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have invested so heavily into it if I didn't believe that. Like, I really do believe that. But end of 2021, I'm still in that $22 to $26 range, and that would be a blessing unto itself. So here's the thing I want to ask you guys. It's the last question, if you will, to kind of wrap things up. Is you guys do so much great deep dive, right? So many great deep dives, right? And I tell people all the time to check out that Bank of America deep dive. I just think that you guys did, Lee, was just phenomenal. What do you guys think? What do you think is the one thing, the one entity, the one thing that will play the biggest factor in Ripple's success besides Ripple itself? Do you think it's Accenture, someone who's invested in Ripple? Do you think it's Bank of America? Do you think it's regulatory clarity? What do you think is that one thing that is going to be the biggest determining factor of Ripple's success?
I'll take this one first, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you're going to take all my answers now, mate.
I don't think there is one thing, Siege.
No.
I was watching, for some reason, coronavirus quarantines got me watching like golf videos for like 3 hours at a time in the morning. So I'm just watching these golfers. And there was a question, Jack Nicklaus won a Masters, and somebody asked him, what's the best shot that you made to make that Masters happen? And he said there wasn't one. He's like, every single shot was as important. So you have things like regulation, you have things like partnerships, you have things like turning on rails, you have things like interoperability. I think that every one of those things plays its part for Ripple to be successful with where they see the utilization of XRP's utility going. If I had to pick one thing, I would pick regulatory clarity, because without that, then nothing else matters, right? But from a realist standpoint, I think that everything matters, kind of in tandem. The stars all have to align, and I think that they have been and they are. Ripple's a friggin' startup, and they're sitting, they're not a startup anymore, obviously, but what other startup do you know that, is overtaking a legacy system that's been around since the 70s, sitting and arm in arm at the lead panel table, for some of the biggest bankers in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's one example. You don't see that stuff happening. So I think everything plays a role, Siege. I think regulations in the very, very short term are the most important, because we've also heard, Lee, and I don't know if I wouldn't be surprised if they came out and said XRP was a security, and then later they said, well, now it's not, and I think they have been moving away from that. So maybe they're at the point now. I think these court hearings are complete BS. I did a video on the legal teams of Ripple, and it's like some extremely heavy hitters, and then just some like random dude that like lives up the street from my house is like,
Right.
But I don't know. Lee, I'm interested to see what your opinion is on it.
Oh, to be fair, my answer is pretty similar to yours. It's not one thing, but I do think what we're going to do, we're going to have a domino effect. And and obviously on my last video, I said a Accenture announcement with Bank of England was domino one. And then I said there's going to be a trigger of announcements one after the other. Then we had the OCC come out talking about, obviously, banks can now custody digital assets, right? And then there's some key things that have got to happen. And like King says, stars are going to align, and each announcement's going to mean more. But we need all the announcements to happen to be successful, right? But I feel that it's all been planned, and it's now just waiting for regulation, right? So obviously, I'm going to break it down for you. So I've got regulation being massive up there. You've got the court case, okay? The security matter. But like King said, we could have a moment where they declare it a security and the price does that. And then they declare it not. They might declare it as a nationally important technology or something like that, which they might fathom up. Because at the end of the day, they need to fight back against, America needs to fight back against this digital war we're having with China at the moment. And they cannot lose this war, okay? Because it is a digital war. And China are ahead, right? So they need to make sure that they don't lose that war. Then you've got SBI Remit and what's going on with SBI. When that rears its head, it's going to rear its head. Again, I'm anticipating something happening late summer this year. Okay, and when that does, fireworks are going to go off. Then obviously we've got the security, I said, regulation. Then we've talked about Bank of America. I think that's going to happen. I've got some kind of suspicions. I don't know about you, King, I think that Bank of America have got the first to market agreement with Ripple, with XRP.
There was a video of that first to market agreement before with utilizing XRP, and I thought Sam may have done a video on that.
I don't know, but I've not. If there were,
you might be right. You might be very well right.
But I've got a suspicion that we're waiting for the regulation over in America because they've got first to market and first mover advantage. Bank of America, I really do.
Well, we know that they're on the they're on the steering group, right?
They're on the steering group. They work in the same building, but they were working in the same building.
They're part of that. There was that document that I don't know if I was the one that found it, but this was like 7 or 8 months ago. They're part of the consortium that they're utilizing. We all know that Bank of America is obviously
Bank of America
planning. And you talked OCC too. That whole remember the video I did for SPQR all about the OCC and those special purpose fintech charters for basically Siege, and I'm sure you probably know, but they've been trying to for like 2 years be able to deem a fintech as basically a federal bank. Non-depository fintechs. Thereby they bypass state regulations and it becomes a federal thing. Brian Brooks is in there making moves for the past 2 months. That dude is like. That Vero just got granted that license. They just so I don't know. It's crazy though. So
absolutely crazy, and I couldn't agree more. And then I think that you've got things like Essentia, SAP, and Temenos, the infrastructure partners who go into these central banks with a suite of products, and obviously interoperability is high on the agenda for a lot of the central banks. So obviously, with it ILP, the perfect solution for interoperability.
Yep.
Right. And then I think that to have mass adoption, we need to have central bank digital currencies, because the central banks will not let their grip loose on the monetary policies and systems worldwide. They need to have their irons, and they won't allow it otherwise. So we won't have full adoption until central bank digital currency. So that when we see central bank digital currencies getting launched worldwide and actually being live, that's time when we know cash out time's coming, in my opinion, because that's when XRP is going to be at its best.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree.
The synchronicity, I've heard you talk about it as well, King, a lot of the time. Synchronicity and interoperability is key to everything that we do for XRP, and when we see that, that's time. But again, I think we're going to have a trigger of announcements, and I can feel something. Honestly, I can feel it in the air. Something's brewing, and there's going to be. We've had two big announcements within the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think announcements seem to historically be on a Monday or a Tuesday.
Yeah, they're Monday through Wednesday are the best.
Yeah, they are.
Thursday and Friday, it's like super dry,
Yeah,
That's when you're looking at like people's resumes online.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm calling within the next kind of 4 to 6 weeks, there's going to be an announcement on a Monday or a Tuesday of some sorts, which again is going to be positive. Will it trigger something? Probably not. I think we're late summer, and the big one is the court case. Once that's out of the way, I think then people are waiting for that to get done. But I think that it's like King said earlier on. I think it's a load of horse shit. In my opinion, I
have just a quick question for both of you guys.
Yeah.
Do you think that we are in a bull market? Do you think that we've bottomed? Because my opinion very strongly is that 2018, well, I should say 2019 and the beginnings of 2020 are probably going to be the best opportunity that we have to be buying digital assets, because I don't know if it's hard to say if we bottomed or not yet, because like we talk about, there could be announcements that tank the price. There could be a regulation announcement that tanks the price. But do you think that we are in the beginnings of, I mean, it's hard to say beginnings because we've seen things go up, 700%, 800%, right? Do you think the bear market's done, or do you think we haven't bottomed yet?
For me personally, I think we're in a new cycle. Have we bottomed yet? I don't think we have. I think we're going to see a wick before, and I think I don't know if any you guys may have watched it. You may not. Gatsby, who's a good guy and a friend of mine from the community, we done a video about what we were expecting before the real ramp up. We're expecting a mass wick, which is going to liquidate a lot of people.
Yeah.
And especially, you talk about obviously savings and loans and stuff like that, where people like Bitrue Piggy Bank, where people go and leverage their digital assets to get more. They're going to wipe all those fuckers out.
Yeah.
And I see this happening. I can see a mass fucking wick. I'm expecting something like 12 cents XRP, but once it hits it, it's coming out of it quick. So to answer your question, I know I don't really answer questions shorthand. It's a long one. Is it a bull market? I don't know. We're in a new cycle, but I don't think we're far from the bull market. How about you, Siege?
Yeah, I say, yeah, we're in a bull market, but I think that any bull market still has this retracing, right? That still happens. And so I do expect a retracement of some sort. I don't know where XRP. I'm sorry?
No, I said you saw what happened when people were talking. It was 33 cents, and I did that. I did a video. It was like, yeah, this is the most overbought we've been since 2018, and people were like, no, you know, that's what happens though. Stuff just, I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm expecting some type of retracement. I really am, but I'm still definitely feeling like we're bullish. I follow two young guys that are TA guys that I just have massive respect for them. High altitude investing is one, and DIY investing is the other. Both have made tons of money in the space, especially high altitude investing. So I'm kind of there, but I'm prepared in either case, right? Definitely prepared. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to ask just one question from the community, give them a chance to ask a question, just one though, and then we'll let you guys wrap up with some final thoughts. Is that cool?
Yeah, man. I'm happy with that.
I'm taking notes.
All right. So let's go with Danny Loft, who is a big time. Talk about a dude who knows how to make money. It's Danny Loft. But let's share. Let's show. Yep, there it is. Daniel Loft says, "Is it possible, as suggested, that XRP could be labeled a hybrid digital asset and a price set at $50? I don't know where you get the number 50 from, but that's his question.
Is he talking to Shane Ellis, buy and sell walls?
I guess.
Do you know what? In terms of a market maker coming into the market, and we talk about liquidity. I'm going off on tangent here, yeah. But you said something about Shane Ellis, which is quite interesting for me, yeah. Because everybody keeps saying there's not enough liquidity in the market. There's not enough liquidity. It needs to build. It needs to build, which I agree with. But if there's a market maker who comes into the market and guarantees all those buy orders, those sell orders, so they're buying all the sell orders the other side of ODL, then this price will shoot. Because there will always be buy orders, and it will just shoot. So, in terms of will they apply, like, let's say some kind of comics rule or pin it in with buy and sell orders? I don't think so. They keep banging the drum about it being decentralized, obviously, yeah, and they've been banging that drum for some time, yeah. And as soon as you apply a fixed price, it's then controlled, right? And then it loses what it's meant to be. So I don't think they will ever fix a price. But a market maker, from a buy point of view, it'd be interesting to see, because I think a guaranteed, maybe even an institution like the Federal Reserve or the IMF, if someone guarantees those buy orders, we could see hundreds of dollars very quickly. And that's where anything is possible.
What do you think, Simon?
I kind of agree with what Lee's saying. It's hard for me to see a fixed price. Then again, I'm a dude that's looking stuff up on the internet. I'm not tied into some of these. I'm not in the Fed. I'm not in any of these places. I don't deal heavily in gold and all this other stuff, because that kind of ties in with the fixed price, because we've heard that too, obviously. But they have been beating the drum about decentralization, right? That's an open network. It's a free and fair network. I don't see how that could happen, how the price could be fixed. However, I've seen some pretty crazy stuff the past 7 months this year. I've seen some pretty crazy stuff so far this year. I've seen some crazy stuff in digital assets too. Yeah. Remember when futures came out, Lee, for Bitcoin, and they ran the price up to 20K, and then they crashed the price. That wasn't retail. I don't think that was all retail people.
No. They were making a quick buck on that straight away.
What I think is it really comes down to, I don't think it has anything to do with even just a single market maker. I think it has everything to do with what Lee touched base on earlier, because XRP essentially works as a bridge. The best use case is as a bridge for CBDCs, in my opinion, because I don't see how they get past the red tape and all this other stuff. I think it really comes down to how these central banks, and maybe they've already decided, but how they nail down the interoperability issue. Because I don't think you have X bank, and if they don't have good political relations, you think they're just going to let instant transfers, even though it's a possible technology to interoperate between their two CBDCs. I don't think that ever happens. Maybe in certain relationships, maybe like the US and the UK might have something worked out. But you see these like exotic corridors, it's never going to happen. I think it comes down on how they interoperate these CBDCs, what they use. They've been talking about this hegemonic currency, which is like a global friggin' currency. Yep. But Lee touched base on it too before. I think it's all under the hood. I think a lot of what XRP is going to facilitate is under the hood. People and even banks, people at banks aren't even going to know what they're using. They're just going to see it's faster, cheaper, etc. So price fix, I don't know how they would do it. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm interested to see how they roll all of this out.
Yeah,
we all know that it's coming. I'm just super interested to see the rhetoric that they give to everybody else that doesn't know.
I know. It's not waiting for Christmas.
It is. It is. It's like every day you're like, Christmas could be here today, and then you're like, oh man.
I know, and I'm searching through all the closets trying to find my presents.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you guys too. This whole thing of XRP is going to be used and we're not going to even know it. I think it's just, I feel like it's just the reality of the situation. It's just going to be that case, right? And CBDCs, like you're saying, like you guys are saying, seems to me to be the obvious thing, because the central banks are not going to let go. They're not going to let go. That's the bottom line. And Ripple has been working with these central banks. What they're working with them, is it just educating them? I don't know. But they're working with the central banks, and I believe there's a reason behind it. It's more than just education.
Can I ask one last question, Siege? I want to ask Lee.
This is good. I'm enjoying this.
Lee,
small question.
Do you think Ripple's been granted something as far as XRP is concerned?
Granted,
do you think that there's already do you think that there's already been something promised as far as for what XRP is going to be utilized for?
Yeah,
I do too. Do you know? Do you know what it is?
There's something with there's something with them holding onto the XRP that they've got at this moment in time. There's something with that. If it's a pre-allocation or something like that, I'm not sure. But you don't have meetings with a high-level advisory board, the IMF, BIS. We proved the meetings with the White House and other central banks
by themselves at the White House.
Yeah, we've actually seen the diaries which we've brought to the community, right?
Yeah.
So you're not in those rooms because these people are busy people, right? You don't just turn up and go, oh yeah, do you want to have a beer with me, mate, and have a couple of games of pool? No. You're there for a reason, and I feel that there's something planned, King. And I think it's going to be more than whatever we dreamed about. I think, and anything's possible.
My opinion, my 2 cents on that is I do think it may be, and this is I'm probably completely wrong. I think it has to do with green economy, and I think it has to do with exotic corridors and banking the unbanked. I think Ripple may have been everybody out there, please take this with a grain of salt. I don't like speculating way too much, but it may be the way to tie them into the system, and they may, XRP may be that extending out the branch. You know what I mean? So who knows?
100%. I want to add on to that as well, Kingo. Yeah, I want to see what your thoughts are on Africa, because you made a point about bringing the unbanked to being banked, right?
And Pesa and Mojaloop and all this stuff.
And I'm just, I want to. I've done a deep dive on Africa, by the way, yeah. But I'm interested to hear what your thoughts is, what their strategy is for these third world countries. That there is lots and lots of people who are unbanked. Just to hear what you feel the strategy is worldwide from a digital economy point of view for these guys.
I mean, I think it all comes down to, like you pinpointed it earlier. The majority of the world, cell phones are everywhere, right? So it's all about simplification and tying people in somehow. You've got and people don't understand, like when you're in these countries, a lot of people, they heavily deal in cash, and that's all that they deal in, because it's instant for all, that's the only thing they can deal in. You see something like Africa, and you've got M-Pesa, you obviously got Mojaloop, but I was always interested in like what Flutterwave was doing down there, because it was just a super small startup, but Flutterwave partnered with Alipay, Flutterwave partnered with Visa. I think that maybe it's a difficult question to answer, but maybe it's tying these in with like fintech companies that are strategically placed in these countries. I think that's why we've seen a lot of mergers and acquisitions, and why we've seen a lot of these partnerships with these seemingly random fintechs, with these not so seemingly random, extremely large corporations like Visa, Alipay. I mean, we've all seen the Flutterwave thing with them, core infrastructure for RippleNet, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't have all the answers. I don't know how they roll this stuff out. What Siege, do you have an opinion? What's your opinion for like how do they introduce what we all know is coming for these countries that are obviously not tied into the system as much as they should be right now?
Well, yeah, I think the same thing. Look, I mean, when Ripple made a decision, whether it was whether they were being gently nudged or not, but when they made a decision to both create the ILP and gift it to the W3C, right? When they made the decision to gift it, and when they made the decision to make the ledger open source, I think that's when the powers that be said, okay, here you go, right? Because Ripple didn't have to gift that technology. They didn't have to gift the ILP. They did not have to make that ledger open source.
No.
And those two decisions, I think, allow the powers that be to say, okay, well, here you go. Because I think that the people from the W3C, ultimately, probably more so than anyone else, understands the power behind both of those two things, especially the ILP, right? And then they just went on and sold the other people on the fact that, oh yeah, we can, all those billions of people that are unbanked, we can bring them into the financial system now, right? And so I think that, once Ripple made that decision to do those two things, they, whoever it is said, okay, this is what we'll do here. And I think Ripple is good with that, because they can move in other directions. This is just the thank you from the ILP and the XRP ledger. And so, there's a reason why they're doing things in Africa. There's a reason why they're doing things in exotic corridors. And if they've been given the blessing to have first movers advantage, if you will, without roadblocks and barriers and that type of thing, I think that's what they've been given. I mean, think about how they're able to move into these places. It's someone's opening the doors and removing the barriers for them.
Good. Yeah. Another question. Ripple XRP, good or bad?
What do you mean, good or bad?
Good or bad people?
Oh.
Is it for the greater good or the greater bad?
Oh, you mean like big picture?
Yeah.
What's going on across the board here, or we're just talking about the XRP?
Across the whole board. Because we yeah?
Obviously.
Yeah, no, yeah.
This whole thing is about control.
Exactly. Now, I totally agree with you.
But if you can make some money while you're about to be completely controlled, I'm going to do it, right? That's my opinion, at least. We all know how much money is going to be flowing into the space. Not if, when, right?
Yeah, of course.
But long term, and I don't even know if it's very, very long term, but once they tie in, I don't know how this gets rolled out. Once they tie in digital currency with like biometrics and stuff like that,
I know, right?
Very, very bad. Very scary. Crazy stuff. Well, what's interesting to me, Siege, I don't know. Do you guys, when you were doing videos, like have just like these people like posting like insanely crazy stuff in the comments, and they're like, why? I don't know, just like, but I agree with it. It's hard to argue with them. It's like, come on, dude. I'm just a guy trying to put out what's going on, but it is all going towards control. And that's where this all leads up in the end. And we all know that, once they can financially track every move that you make, it gets to be a very scary place. Society, the globe, everybody in the, China's probably already, we all know China's like 85.5% there already. They only need like a tiny little nudge through the door just to be complete, So I think long-term bad.
Would you think once that's happened, once they've trapped us in a system, which let's say in this digital world, we haven't got an off-ramp out of the banks. We can't hold physical money anymore because we're clearly going cashless,
Yeah.
In terms of timeframes, I think that's about 2030 going cashless. We're already going cashless, and you can see the agenda from a green point of view. No printing money. All the organisations send emails, don't send letters, and everything's going well. But it's going green, right? You mentioned that earlier on, King. But from my point of view, I think that for the ID and the ID point of view of facial recognition, I think there's going to be digital passports. I think they're going to track payments. I think you've got Chinese companies giving away mobile handsets in Africa as we speak, and they're opening digital wallets everywhere. Once they've got everybody into this system, when we're trapped, does that then make it easier for them to then apply negative interest rates? Because what do you go into?
I would think that would have already happened by then.
You reckon?
I think the negative interest rates are right around the corner.
Yeah, I agree. But we can do something about that at the moment. We can move into other items, right?
Yeah, you're saying once everything is tied into the same system.
Yeah, once everything's tied into the same system and you're in a negative interest rates in your bank or in a pension, right? Where else have you got to go? Stock market? Back into the back pockets of the conglomerate companies, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I'm just. What do you do? Is that where we're going with this? Where
hopefully I'm on an island.
Whatever they want.
Hopefully I've made enough from my investments prior to that where I can try to remove myself from the grid, even though that won't be possible. We all know that's not possible. Yeah. But I don't know. I have no idea. I think, and I know that we've been on here for a while, Siege. I know it's an hour and a half. Sorry. I'm not so concerned about myself as I am with how are my kids going to grow up in this society, because I think I can handle whatever they throw at me. Yeah. My kids are completely going to be screwed. I mean, my 5-year-old's about to be, and I don't want to get into the mass debate. I whatever side you're on is fine, but I think we can all join the realistic side that it's probably not realistic to send a 5-year-old to school for 5 hours and expect her to wear a mask for 5 hours. You know what I mean?
Right, sure.
It's the most important time of her life, socialization and all this stuff. So this is a scary time. So, Siege, I really appreciated you having me on. Lee, I know you got like 5 more questions.
I know. I've got loads of questions. I just like talking about this shit with people who don't think I'm crazy for a change.
No, you're not crazy at all, dude, for sure.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely. Well, so listen, guys, I'm going to let you guys kind of wrap up and just kind of, if you can give your final thoughts on, just the space as a whole, if you want, XRP as a whole. What would you say to the community to pay attention to or to look forward to in the next 5 years?
For me, the next 5 years, that's a long time frame, and a lot can happen in 5 years. I'll give you 18 months, and like I've said earlier on, I'll just regurgitate what I said earlier. We're going to see regulations, we're going to see announcements, we're going to start to see some of these non-disclosure agreements coming out into the open, and that's what I'm looking forward to the most, because when one happens, they're all going to happen, and then you're going to then the banks who aren't involved. And I know there's actually plenty who aren't. They're going to start coming to the race very, very quickly. And they're going to be knocking on Ripple's door to get access to the technology. And then the cattle market will come in. Everybody will go after it because they will not want to miss out. So that's what I think over the next 12 to 18 months, that's what's going to be the most exciting thing, because we've researched it just like King, And you, Siege, we've researched our asses off to actually kind of half predict what's going to happen. And we know announcements are coming. He's just like, please just bloody make the announcements.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It's one of those. So I'm looking forward most of that.
I think Siege next. I'm not going to do 5 years either because I just don't know how to project out that far. I think within the next 18 months, I think before Christmas of 2021, they've already announced banks in custody crypto. I think we see that way before then. I think because I believe 100% that these banks have already been building custody solutions probably for the past year and a half now, if not longer. I do think that we get regulatory clarity for digital assets as a whole. I obviously think that we get a ruling on XRP. And then once that happens, I expect that we're going to see, like Lee said before, a complete domino effect. You're going to see, once the green light has been given and it's a clear green light across the board, I think that you're going to see a cascade effect of just great proportions from all these suspected partners and all these suspected use cases, not even just with XRP, but you're going to see regulatory clarity across the board. You're going to have tons of announcements. My suggestion to the Xrp community and to the digital asset community as a whole, I guess more so, is just, really try to do your own research on this stuff. There are people out there that try to provide real research, but in the end, you're the only person that knows what's real or not, right? Try not to buy into hype. Obviously, the standard thing of don't ever invest more money than you can afford to lose, and don't get over invested into your investments. So don't mentally over, I honest to God, I probably looked at XRP price like 2 days or a day ago. But I probably do that like twice a week now. I really don't do it unless I see other people posting about it. But that's pretty much it. I mean, just really be wary of this space because there's still so many scams. It's crazy to think that we're in 2020 and you're still seeing scam ads on YouTube videos, I know. So I think that we're going to have an incredibly interesting 18 months. So, and I would just tell people, don't give up on what you know is going to be happening. If you didn't overinvest, just leave it sit. And who cares? Pay attention, follow the space so you can stay up on developments. But don't panic sell and don't panic buy, and just trust in what you invested in as long as you did your own research. So
absolutely, I love it. Absolutely love it, guys. And guys, listen, I'm going to let you guys go. I know it's been an hour and a half. I appreciate you guys big time. The big time value add to the community without question is Solomon and Lee from SPQR Media. It's been a blessing. It's been an honor to have you guys on the show. Thank you so much for hanging out. Looking forward to meeting you guys in the real world real soon.
Some point, man. Yeah, thanks, Siege. Nice seeing you, Lee. We'll have to do it again.
We'll see you soon.
It's been fun. Thank you, guys. Have a good one, yeah?
We'll see you guys.
All right, buddy. All right, guys. So there that is. There the one and only. That was a really cool hangout. I hope you guys definitely appreciated that. Right? Love cryptos in the building. Guac Girls here. XRP Banner. Appreciate you guys. Listen, guys, I appreciate you guys. 230 people in the stream. Please make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed the hangout and subscribe to the channel if you haven't had a chance to do that. We always like to get just as many likes as we have viewers in the stream. So if you could guys make that happen, that would be really, really awesome. Did these guys not bring it or what? And I got to tell you, I think it's so important to have the kind of like the real world perspective from guys. And so, and I find those two to be, very, very down to earth and humble and wanting to see the whole space as a whole win, wanting us all to win in this space. And I just think ultimately those are just two really good dudes. And I appreciate that a lot. I really, really do. So I appreciate them hanging out. All right, guys, listen, I'm going to wrap up the stream like I do all of my streams. Remind you guys of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. They don't want us to win. They would rather us remain a cog in their perpetual wheel of trading our time for dollars. They don't want us to play in the same playground that they play in, where we allow our money to work for us. This is our chance to win, guys. The digital asset space is our chance to win. We are in the midst of the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of man. Are you participating, or are you standing on the sidelines? Here's what I do know, that the battle for you has already been fought, and the victory is yours. Go get it. I'll talk to you soon, guys. See ya. Bye.